Welcome all to this talk, Designing User Input with Oleg. Oleg's awesome. You're a senior AR, VR product designer at LIV, and you're also a really cool prototyper in your spare time. I think the first stuff I saw from you was a bunch of keyboard prototypes where you were doing some really out of the box thinking when it came to keyboards and hand tracking and VR, and everyone loves a weird keyboard when it comes to VR, and they were really fun.
Yeah,
And it's been fun seeing your kind of progression since then and the different stuff you've been posting. But yeah, we're really excited to have you, and I'll hand
thank
over
you.
to you, and then we can get to a Q&A afterwards. So we'll be
Yeah,
monitoring the chat. But yeah, take it away, Oleg.
yeah. I prepared a little deck to share. By the way, feel free to interrupt if you have any questions. I think it's not a lecture, it's talk. Okay, let me share my little presentation. Hi everyone. My name is Oleg. I'm a designer slash prototyper. I I've been working on a wide range of different projects, starting from social nets, messengers, camera apps, creative tools for mobile and desktop, to social nets, messengers, camera apps, and creative tools for spatial computing or VR or augmented reality or whatever we call this thing nowadays. Right now, I'm working at LIV for designing and prototyping some cool stuff around capturing mixed reality. So, yeah, in my spare time, I love doing experiments with interaction design. So, for me, I'm considering this as some kind of exploration of the language we speak with the machines and therefore other people through them. The medium, but the medium I'm the most excited is VR and AR because it's not only fun, it's also has a lot of opportunities and ways to rethink, reimagine some conventional patterns, and in general, our approach, how we interact with environment and again, other people. The coolest part about the medium that you can leverage your own body as an input and as UI. For example, here I try to think about our own body as some kind of UI storage. And you can imagine that you can semantically map out your own body and, for example, to store your favorite apps or your mom's photo close to your heart. And speaking about input, again, this just huge space how we can rethink it. Here I tried to inverse the approach how we interact with keyboards. Usually um, keyboards, buttons, triggers, and our fingers just a source of event. And here I turned fingers into the triggers. So I call this fingerboard or something. So um, you can encode with this approach. By the way, you can encode up to 90 symbols. And once you learn how it works, you can type relatively fast. So I was really, really surprised by this. Of course, you have to have really good hand tracking. Okay, let's talk about designing XR user input in the product context. For uh, a voxel editor, a few years ago, I started working on a little pet project. Uh, called Voxel XR. I thought it would be nice to have a playground where I could test my interaction ideas in the context of a small but coherent product experience. And generally speaking, having the context is always useful because it allows you to make the interactions and these experiments a part of the UX system. And at the same time, the context naturally brings restrictions that can guide you toward meaningful and thoughtful design decision. So yeah, restrictions is a crucial thing when we are talking about thoughtful and meaningful design. If you don't have restrictions, you always need to find them. This is an example of what you can do with the little editor. So you can create some characters like Crossy Road inspired and import in any 3D editor that supports OBJ files. The editor went through three major design phases. First was canvas-based phase, when I tried to leverage regular panels like input. So then controllers first, and this is controllers first is the current stage, current state of the editor, and I'm also experimenting with hand tracking first approach, trying to figure out how to do this when you have only bare hands. So canvas-based UI inputs. Originally, I thought that it would be good to just leverage the floating UI panels pattern from screen-based design, mainly because people are already familiar with this, how to use it, and it might significantly simplify the whole experience, especially for people who never used VR before. So I tried to mimic this sculpture-like experience when an artist walking around the object and interacts with it to create something. So we can call this approach object-centered design. And it was fun at the beginning because kind of huge things. Um, you feel very immersed in the process. But when you started using these tool multiple times a day, it became very tiresome. So because you had UI which you always need to look at on the one hand and laser pointing on the other, and when you create something, it always kind of distracted your flow because you need to figure out at which button you need to point and interact. So you kind of always share it. The UI layer always share it. Kind of, you always had to pay attention to the UI layer. So, and at the same time, because you had to move around your objects and around your creation, it's also caused muscle fatigue. So yeah, it's again, it's okay if you have video game when you make, like, for example, Minecraft or Gorilla Tag, when they actually leverage muscle fatigue and make the whole gameplay around this. But for professional tool, it's yeah, it's too much. So, and trying to solve it, I moved everything to controllers. Controllers first experience. So this is the first iteration and final iteration on the design for my controllers. Looks like this. Moving everything to controllers allowed me significantly improve the speed of interactions because the UI was literally at your fingertips, and that's the reason why professional loves shortcut keys, because it gives you the speed of interactions, and at the same time you shouldn't use a lot of physical effort, so it's kind of effortless and quick. So another benefit of using this approach that once after several sessions you naturally develop your muscle memory, and you don't need to look at your hands, at your controllers to use them. So this is another benefit because you can stay in the creative process undistracted. I mapped buttons like undo, redo, erase, and still I put on secondary and primary buttons. Triggers always created voxels. And for main menu and color picker, I leverage the so-called iMenu pattern. So yeah, basically once you touch the thumbstick, you see all the items, and moving it, you can invoke one of them. These interactions easy to perform, and it's quite accurate. Also, if I added sounds, so they were slightly different, which again helped to develop additional um, increase the accuracy. So just based on sound, your brain might confirm that, oh, I'm going to create a sketch, or I'm going to open settings menu. So it's a very tiny thing. You just manipulate by pitch of the sound, but it brings a huge difference in the experience itself. And yeah, for creation button, because if you press this accidentally, it might heavily interfere with your, not might, it's definitely would interfere with your creative process. So I added a little delay activation. So yeah, and I need to make it a little bit more long. Recently, a few users were complaining that it's still fast. So yeah, and the same thing I use for color picker. Again, very easy to use, intuitive, and because I showed the current color on the voxel itself, so you shouldn't need see look at your controllers as well. So again, and pressing the thumbstick, you could cycle through the available color palettes. So this was the current state of Fairs. This application available on Metastore. If there's some users who use it and send me feedback. So yeah, but I was thinking about, okay, definitely in the future, hand tracking will be the primary method to interact with things in Excel. because just compare with the state of hand tracking from previous year, we can see a difference. So it's evolving. And I was thinking, like, is it possible to mix hand tracking and controllers in a single application? I'm still not 100% sure because on the one hand, it's kind of nice to make it accessible for a lot of people and reach kind of very wide audience. But at the same time, all professional tools require preciseness and the speed of interactions. And nowadays, only controllers can provide these um, things. So, but anyway, I'm in the middle of exploring how I could use turn my current patterns and my current UI into hand tracking base. And yeah, now I'm going to show you a bunch of examples from my exploration journey. First thing, when I decided to first pattern I tried to use when I decided to go with hand tracking approach was file menu. It's quite famous and bulletproof thing, mainly because it gives you an opportunity to easily scale items, and at the same time, it's kind of natural affordance. You're looking at your palm and you show items, you do not look at your palm, you do not show your items. Plus, probably uh, if many might remember that when you was in elementary school and you was too lazy, you could record something on your palm and you use actually some kind of notebook. So this I think very good pattern, yeah, because a lot of people are familiar with it. But there's a downside. It requires to use both hands, so which might not be a good thing in terms of accessibility. Um, yeah, but still very, very promising approach. Another thing, it's quite um, a bizarre approach, but I still think that it has some, it might be useful for some use cases. Obviously, it has limitation in terms of how many items you can add. So it's definitely scalability problems there. But and at the same time, at least last year when I designed it and prototyped, I used MetaQuest Pro, and it had huge problems with detection pinky and ring pinches. So it was really fine with index and middle pinches, but once you tried to use pinky or ring pinches, they always were false positive. So it works perfectly when you're directly looking at your palm, but once you slightly move, yeah, it's broken. So, but again, if we know that big companies develop additional devices that can increase the preciseness of hand and finger manipulation. So I think in a few years we might kind of have devices that could give us the room to play with this type of interactions. Another interactions, actually, it's a set of 3 interactions. It's kind of classical menu. This version leverages horizontal orientation. So it's again, you're looking at your palm you see the current state, um, you do pinch, you invoke a menu, and by moving your hand, you select another items. So kind of really okayish, good pattern. So the only thing that you need, apparently you need to move your whole arm. If you have kind of more than 3, 4 items, so you really need to engage your whole arm, which is yeah, might cause muscle fatigue. This is a vertical version, and apparently it's in terms of accessibility. But again, I didn't conduct any proper research about this. Only my feelings and a few other people who tried this. So, but apparently you can use only your wrist movement when you select all these items. So, which is kind of really good advantage compared to the previous thing. So you can imagine that you in your chair and you want to invoke the menu, do some kind of manipulation. So you do not need to move your whole arm, which is really, really good. And the final pattern in this series, it's that leverages depth. Personally, it's the coolest pattern, but it has huge, huge downsides. First of all, there's optical distortion because the buttons, they are not facing you, so which means that you only can use very simple shapes and probably very recognizable things. In my case, it's okay because it's just 4 items. It's easy to recognize, so it's not a problem. But yeah, it's not general purpose pattern. Plus, because you need to do this movement, you need to engage your whole arm, which is again not optimal. It's suboptimal, and but at the same time, you can leverage this as a part. You can use this as a part of some kind of design language that you want to put some actions that might change some crucial operating system settings. So you probably might want to make it less accessible and encapsulate this them in this path to reach interaction. And the last section of patterns I tried, I call this suite patterns. This is spine menu. It's as you can see, it's heavily inspired by Blender's menu, and it's my favorite one because you can put icons, you can put labels on the menu, and it doesn't look ugly, which is just win, obviously win. So, and again, here, there's one cool thing about radial patterns. They allows you to reduce the complexity of the interaction to a single dimension, just one dimension. Even if it might seem like, oh, this is 3D interaction, something complex, in reality, you only operate just changing angle. So it's one dimension. And from my experience, it's the simplest way to increase the accuracy and accessibility of your interactions. You just reduce dimensions. Less dimensions, less room to make a mistake. So another variation, it's a cake pattern. So kind of the same thing, but takes less space. If you use well-recognized icon symbols, so you really it's really good pattern. So because you can't put labels there, you potentially could do this, but it would start looking very ugly. And the final pattern, it's also one of my favorite because it allows you to leverage to include different types of interactables. So as you can see, there's a little app, a recording app that shows you the state of operating system, what's going on. There's also toggles and there's just action buttons. So you can mix easily. Also, you have enough space for icons, for text, so very accessible. It's kind of similar what Meta had a year ago, but they use two-dimensional selector. And compare to, to that menu, this is much more accessible again because it leveraged only one angular dimension for selecting items and another dimension, radial dimension, for changing states, like selected or toggling between the elements. So which is super accessible and very accurate. Yeah, that's all. It was me and my little talk about my experiments with XR input for Voxel XR application. So you can find a lot of these prototypes are available on my GitHub XR prototypes directory, so you can download them as like a APK files and install on your Quest device to try. And I'll be happy to hear your thoughts. And yeah, there's a link to the Voxel editor as well. Yeah, thank you very much for watching. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Oleg. That was great. Um,
Thank you.
it was yeah, I love seeing all the different kind of iterations you have of the different kind of hand menus. It's been fun seeing you kind of yeah, post those over the last year or so and going into different places. Um,
Oh, thank you. First of all, you was the part of the team who actually was doing the field massively. So yeah, just just yeah, I really appreciate what you did back in the day. So yeah,
thanks. Um,
and your peers as well.
yeah, yeah, I was definitely standing on the shoulders of giants. Ultimately,
Yeah, yeah,
it was really cool.
100%. Yeah, I think you were too ahead of the time. So from my experience, from my point of view.
Um, I was wondering if you could tell us a bit about your design process and how you actually go from kind of having an idea to building it, and whether there's anything you can share around that.
Yeah. Um, Usually it's just uh, s- I don't know, depending on if it's a part of some kind of procedure, like I'm working on a work task. Yeah, it's a little bit different because I'm usually I'm looking at do some kind of research, competitors, requirements from the platform, best practices, all the stuff to make it fast, easy to implement, and still fun to use. This is the most important part for me. So for my personal experiments, and when I'm not restricted by anything, I just I don't know, it's like um, playing in the playground, just with Lego. Just have one thing. For example, you looking at your hand, like, okay, I have four fingers. What can I do with it? oh, maybe it could be just different colors, or it might be, for example, you do pinch, you do creation, you do middle pinch, you remove something, or you can map all your gestures, all your movement to interactive system. You sometimes you can do this randomly, and you can get very interesting, um, uh, results. So it's some kind of um, it's like dancing, or it kind of making a music. Like you think about your body and about the input and what you can produce. So the interaction is like sound. Yeah, it's this some kind of purpose. I don't know. I don't know. It's something like this. Maybe it sounds doesn't make sense. Yeah, but for
No.
me, it's just a fun process, like playing. It's that's interesting because um, there was a guy. Uh, he was from Sweden, Johan Heisinger. Have you heard about him? This guy, he was an anthropologist, and he actually developed a theory very believable. And personally, I think this is how you can really explain human culture. So initially, the monkeys, they just were monkeys, animal. They were following instincts and doing monkey stuff. But at certain point, they started playing. Just really, just oh, let's left some kind of pictures with our hands, or just instead of doing something useful, let's just I don't know, just play, chasing each other. So, and over time, it was developed in very complex social and socially significant experiences. So I think this just pure joy from having fun and playing, this is crucial foundation for any creative process. So it's impossible to formalize. You just have fun, the vibe. And why just enjoying yourself and others. So yeah,
Cool. Be a monkey. That's what I'm hearing.
yeah, be a monkey.
Um, cool. I can get to some of the questions in the chat that we're getting coming in. One person asked if you've noticed any dark patterns or deceptive design patterns for XR. Um, I guess they're quite a common thing in the web, but I wonder, is that
Uh,
something you've noticed appearing in XR?
this is um, I don't. It's kind of I don't want to hurt anyone. So first of all, because really people try to do best, and sometimes it's not a kind of okay. For example, you are going through some kind of long registration flow. Is it a kind of dark pattern? You might think that it's a dark pattern, but at the same time, development XR, it's just another level of complexity. It's extremely hard. And some people just doing shortcuts. Okay, guys, we don't have to, right now, we don't have time to develop perfect experience with a lot of gamification. Let's just put the view in this space and just hope people won't be angry at us. So yeah, yeah,
So
but of
like,
course, yeah,
well, the thing is interesting you kind of brought up there is that like long flow onboarding in general is just or long flow flows in XR is inherently difficult.
yeah.
Do you think that's a development problem, or do you think that is like the nuance of like a new medium?
Um, I think this is a platform based problem because, for example, there's good examples of applications specifically, I'm talking about native application when you kind of open them, just single button to enter because the system already knows everything about you. But at the same time, some companies can't give the platform holders their users. So this also for different reasons you might have web version, right? And some you might want to develop your own ecosystem that serve better. So this is very complex. So I think it's easy to pick to find a really bad example, but I think we need to look at this holistically, because it might be some kind of version of trade-off or a part of kind of really good plans to give people more power and more features, more options, right? Because if you can easily allow people register with the platform, but they kind of stuck there. Everyone knows who have PlayStation. This is
It,
you kind of
it's interesting because like
gauge.
in the sense of dark patterns, I don't think I've run into a deceptive dark pattern yet in
Mm,
XR because I don't think anyone is clever enough to do that and like masochistic enough to do that
yeah,
because like people you just want people to use your tool and then you like screwing them over with getting them to subscribe to something they don't mean to.
yeah,
The checks
yeah,
and balances aren't there yet, so it's
I
like just really
yeah.
hard.
I feel like Meta's OS might be a dark pattern in terms of the amount they try and funnel you into Horizon.
I mean,
Like
that's a good
Oh, that's
point.
so I saw a tweet today. One guy was complaining that he couldn't find um, uh, an application in the Meta store because he misspelled one single letter, but at the same time he had a lot of suggestion about Meta Horizon world.
the
I mean, it's
So
one
this
thing you
is
would think they would be able to do well is like a decent search structure.
yeah,
But
yeah,
maybe, I mean, knowing people there, it seems like kind of like a clusterfuck and no one's communicating with each other. So,
yeah,
like that's just like Horizon. Yeah, you can definitely see the PMs in there, basically being like, we gotta justify this,
yeah,
$10 billion like acquisition purchase thing. That yeah, I mean, good point. I think I'm not sure if that's a dark. I mean, that's just a dark product, I suppose.
dark product.
It's yeah, but at the same time, I don't know. It's hard to judge because, especially Meta, they ship really quick. It could be just miscommunications or something like this. So just where it could be just agile. Let's call it. So
Yeah,
too agile. Yeah,
it's usually like working at those companies. It's usually someone not conniving, being like, "How do we squeeze more money?" It's like five PMs that are like five managers deep, trying to talk to on high and ship fast, and
yeah,
trying to manage like signal. And then that's what happens. I think that. I
yeah,
mean, yeah, let's get into another question because I have a lot of questions for you as well. Um, Another question here by Brandon says muscle memory is also something to consider with frequent. Wait, that's not even a question. Sorry, my chat just keeps going up because you guys are so popular. Um,
Satan's
can
got
you
a great
help?
question.
What? Go on.
Satan says, "Do you have any ideas or tips for switching between near and far field interactions, so like direct interactions or raycasting, within the same experience?" I know this is something that uh, maybe hasn't been nailed yet, and it'd be interesting to know if you've tried to tackle that too.
yeah. Um, Personally, I think if it's possible, you need to start with one approach because you can create very, very tailored solution that kind of leverages this use case. once you start mixing different types of input, because again, in a close range, you probably want to support direct interactions or even physics-based, some kind of things, poke, interactor as well. So you always need to make compromise decision or compromise design decisions. So it leads to mediocre design. There's a solution for this. For example, Apple Vision Pro did this. They just used dynamic scale. So it's kind of one single input and one single UI. And it practically, there's no such thing like close and far range, because visually it has the same weight for your eyes, but of course perceptually you kind of, oh, this is big, but in reality it's the same amount of pixels on your screen. So yeah, this is kind of good, really good solution. But if we are talking about classic approaches, personally I prefer creating slightly different designs, and if it's possible, just to start with one approach. So yeah,
Cool. Yeah, I was chatting with Nova about this on the XRD Discord. Join it in the
yeah,
description.
I
Uh,
saw this.
it's a really hard problem to tackle, and I don't think anyone's like completely mastered it. I haven't looked at MRTK's solution though. I bet they've got some
Yeah,
clever thing. They've just got kind of solved so many things
yeah,
quietly years ago. I should
yeah.
definitely check that out.
Yeah. But at the same time, we have this example, we kind of can take a look at. I remember when touch interfaces became the thing, and everyone, oh, let's move from desktop to touch screen like iPad or iPhone, and okay, let's move. But at the same time, people, maybe we need to save some money and just create a single application that supports both desktop input and touch screen. Let's do this. It, it will save a lot of money. And it didn't work. So you need to design for this particular input. You need to design, if you want to create um, world-class design, just perfect design that serve its purpose without compromises, you need to serve this input and leverage all possibilities. Once you start mixing, creating hybrid versions, it's always mediocre, and yeah, it might confuse people, even
So
confuse people.
So do you think so? Like Apple and Meta have taken kind of, as you guys are talking about, two different approaches where Apple kind of just locks the users or a lot of the creators on rails, and they define their scalability, their distance, and
Yeah,
like all of that stuff. And the beauty of that is that they only have one major input, and it's easier for people to adopt. Granted, they can create less sophisticated things in many ways, but they have the ability for people to jump in and have all of those complexities handled, versus
yeah,
Meta, where you have to set exactly what you're like the complexities of explaining to designers and creators that like how far you should set your distance, and
yeah,
there's nothing that locks you in. Like that offers you more power and leverages the promise of XR, but it makes it inherently difficult to
yes,
maintain,
yeah, yeah,
right? So like I don't. For me, I'm not sure if there's like one right answer. It seems like you're screwed in every direction, right? Like
yeah, yeah.
it's it's a tough problem.
Yeah. I think it's both valid, uh, as long as the vision of develop people who develop the platforms is strong. I think both of the approaches really good. So because again, today I watched the weekend's new video on Vision Pro, and it was just amazing. I don't remember what I did. I just naturally did something and I watched the experience. So it was very natural. So in terms of consumption and just watching video as a cinema. It's just really great experience. So, but again, is it possible to run a tool and only like, I don't know, editor, 3D editor, and use only your hands? I don't know.
I
But
don't think so.
again, but
Well,
again, yeah, yeah, yeah.
but this is a
But
question I have. Sorry,
yeah,
go. Keep going. You go.
yeah,
You go.
just remember we had an iPad and we didn't have a Pro Creator. What the name was the app?
Yep.
This for drawing.
Procreate.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, Procreate, and we didn't have it, right? And uh, when we had this, apparently it became a professional tool. So it's just the matter of time, I guess.
It's interesting
Once we
because
get
like
it.
I think like looking through your stuff is like, well, your stuff's all really sick. The question I have
Thank
is
you.
like right now, like a lot of people are moving towards hands, but I don't think hands are that powerful. I think that a lot of people are trying to shoehorn the capability of hands into things because it's from an accessibility perspective. But like, hands are human, a keyboard is superhuman, right?
Yes.
Like, and Meta's new wristband seems to be the possibility of the bridge right now. But
Yeah.
like any form of raising your hand above your heart or your waist or your chest, or even tapping for long periods of time, just starts killing you. Like it's just
Yeah.
not ergonomical. And all of your like all of your text inputs are really awesome, but like they're very limited to like 5 to 10 possibly concepts, unless if you go hyper nesting, right? Like,
Yeah.
and to me, it's like Minority Report was obviously not a good representation of the future of XR, but at the same time, it's kind of like we're stuck in this weird limbo, or we're stuck
Yeah.
with doing this next to our side on the Apple Vision Pro. Like it's like a big button. It's like a single mouse with a button that you just like kind of click, and then
Yeah.
that's kind of like what we can do now. And yeah, I'm interested. Like maybe it is the pencil moment we need. Maybe it is like I'm not sure if you guys played with the Logitech pen for the Quest, but it is like a brand new input system that is interesting, but it's still hyper limited. And I don't
Mhm.
know if like I it feels like the cursor, like the hands, the controller, all of that is trying to represent an analog medium that even like
Yeah.
that doesn't really help or really take advantage of XR.
Yeah. But I think it's a technical problem because
Sure.
again, can you guess for which operating system I use this device? What's the name of the system? It's Windows.
Sure.
Because on my Windows machine, the touch pad is so terrible that it's completely unusable. I always use a mouse, but at the same time, for my MacBook touchpad, it's enough. So
Mm.
I do everything with it. And very fast, even 3D modeling, using 3D software, Figma, programming. I just need keyboard. So, but yeah, it just also about I think about quality of the detection and tracking, because again, once we have a device that can precisely read my micro gestures, so and I don't need to rely on computer vision systems, which gives you a lot of false positives. So I can just rest my arms and, I don't know, do some micro movements and something is happening. Um,
It's happening. It's just it's a very it's we're just kind of, it feels like we're in a input limbo at the moment.
Yes, yeah, but right now, yeah, I agree. It's very venturous to use hand tracking for complex interactions.
And
So it's
usually, a lot of these applications are ports of other products because they're so expensive to make. And so
yeah,
it just continues the limited input system that we have instead of actually investing into creating complex or more esoteric systems that we haven't discovered yet. So that's interesting.
yeah.
So we have another question. Lou asks, could you please walk us through your workflow, breaking it down into levels or stages and tools you use for each step? You don't need to go hyper into
Yeah.
detail. Yeah.
Everything is simple. First of all, I have these things. Um, okay, I couldn't find a ruler. I have this thing. This is just a ruler, simple thing. So you imagine an interaction, right, in your head, because don't forget, our brain is powerful spatial computer. So you have to visualize something, and usually what I do, so I create some kind of, sometimes I use paper to model something, panels or buttons, but usually the ruler is enough just to create a tangible visualization of your interaction. Then you can grab some iPhone, imagine that it's a button. Sometimes I project Figma, I don't know, do something like this. Sometimes I use just sketch up everything on a paper. Then I do visualization in Figma. It's a very technical flow. Yeah, if I need 3D elements, I do this in Blender. And and again, depending on the situation, if I really need to do something really quick, I use quick prototyping tools, Vizy or ShapExcel. So really quick to do this, or Gravity Sketch. So if I need to create some complex shape at the same time. So once it's done, I open Unity and yeah, just mix everything, prototype or coding, programming, some interactions. But because I did a lot of stuff in the past, I kind of already have my own framework. So I reuse a lot of things. So it's really rapid prototyping. So when sometimes people ask me, "Oh, like really you use Unity?" and they imagine something like spending days on development. It's not true. I spend days on development, initial components and interact initial framework, but now I just mix it really quickly. So I have frameworks for sound system interactions, input handling. Also, by the way, yes, it's interesting. Um, this one, I have this device,
Mm.
Ultralip. Yeah. So because again, putting the headset on your head, and taking it off takes a lot of time. Sometimes when I just need to prototype hand tracking based interactions, just I put this in this way
That's
and
sick.
do like this. So yeah, and I love this approach because it allows me to work on MacBook and not work on my PC. So which is yeah, MacBook just much faster and more joyful experience. Yeah.
MacBook lets you be more like a monkey.
Yeah, and just dreaming when Meta finally give us the the integration with Unity. You can run your scenes directly from editor. So it would be just, I think it will be a game changer, changing
The
experience.
new M4 Max, like I love my PC. Windows 11 sucks, but I love my PC. But the new M4 Mac, I'm like this. Once that gets to PC level, like in integration, yeah, I will be
Yeah,
very, very excited, especially for laptops, right?
yeah.
Another question someone asked, someone says your thoughts on the Logitech style. Have any of you guys used the Logitech stylus?
I just ordered. No.
Oh, you just ordered it.
Yeah.
It's a input in search for a good program. That's my thoughts on the
Mm.
Logitech stylus. It's still a lot of
Same as this.
this. Oh yeah, yeah. It's still like a lot of this. Like, why would I want to do this?
Mhm.
I'd rather
Yeah.
have this on my desk drawing
Yeah,
and then have that like be able to translate to what's happening vertically and the proper signifiers to show where this
yeah,
is versus
yeah,
like
yeah,
It
it doesn't help. It's like
yeah. This is this is what I meant when I was talking about reducing the amount of dimensions. What's good about when you have a table uh, that you reduce 3D dimensional action to two-dimensional, because when you draw on the table, it's a projection. It's 2D projection. You can make just you just do make less errors, so which is good.
I mean, whoever wants a prototype for this thing, it could be sick if it understands where it is in space because you could have the X and Y axis, but then now you can also have the Z index.
Yeah,
And I think that would be really interesting. But yeah, like I got it for $100, but it's cool. It sits here because there isn't any practical application that I would want to use with it right now.
I want to try it
yeah,
with painting VR because I know there's a bunch of different like painting apps that obviously Logitech are paid to integrate it with, and they seem like they might be really interesting to use it with. But for the most part, I think people are like just excited by a new form of controller to play with. But it I agree, it does seem like an odd peripheral that is definitely in
yeah,
search of like a reason for existence.
And it's still mapped to the same button structure of a controller.
Yeah,
It's a controller but finer, and instead of turning your like this thing around and put like a little nub on it like the Pro, right? It's just a
yeah.
more ergonomic way of doing that. That's essentially what it is.
It
And
has like Meta OS integration, right? Like you can use it
yeah,
inside their OS. That's crazy.
I mean
yeah,
it's a really cool tool. And you are the two guys who could make this thing worth a damn, right? Because it's like there's just so much stuff you could. It's even when you just start flipping your controller schemes and your haptics around, you could start doing some really interesting things, which shows you how malleable this medium is, which is cool.
does it have haptic feedback
It does. It's
sound?
good. Yeah, it's
Oh, that's
good.
good.
It's good. Yeah, like um it's a again, it's a cool tool. Like the painting VR thing is really cool. Especially like it's amazing the kind of fidelity and accuracy you can get with this tool. It's just like I'm always wanting if I go painting, I'm like, but I want to feel, like this. I want to feel
Yeah,
like no matter how much this shakes, it's still not the same as
yeah.
like being able like if you draw a circle or a line, you understand like the drag of it. It's a feeling
Yeah,
situation. Yeah.
that's interesting. That have you tried to use this like this, holding this like a magic wand?
Oh,
Like
I've tried that.
this. I'm a Disney princess, magic princess. Like, ooh.
You
So
could. I
I'm
guess
curious.
you could theoretically do it.
I'm curious because in this case your arm do not interfere with your vision, so
Hmm.
it's clear. But when you hold in this way, you kind of, yeah, it overlaps with your vision.
So the thing that's what they do, I'm sorry, I'm just pulling up all kinds of toys. I apologize. So what they
That's
allow you to
okay.
do is to hold this and this together. This supplements this,
Mm.
right? And that's really, really cool. Now, this is never going to happen, but this is a Elgato Stream pedal, right? It
Mhm.
has 3 buttons, middle, and you can change like the friction between them. Like this would be super interesting to work within XR with, where it's like it's
Yeah.
kind of like if you're doing pottery and you have that pedal that basically
Oh,
is
yeah.
like this to me would be a super interesting input.
Well, this is a good idea to take a look at and some kind of find inspiration in some kind of regular traditional practices, crafting
Oh,
practices.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, air sucks, right? Unless if you're
Yeah.
doing something like, especially for creative inputs, like you need multiple really complex inputs and the physicality of things. And that's why it's just
Yes.
such so hard.
Um, all right, I think we're slightly over time now, so it might be a good point to end here. Um, it was it was really fun. Really enjoyed the talk, Oleg. Thanks so much for coming.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Yeah.
Thanks,
Awesome.
bud.
So if anyone's watching and hasn't joined the XRD Discord, please do. We chat about a lot of stuff on there, and you can come share your ideas and join a whole community of designers who are deeply invested in XR. We're going to have another one of these talks next month, hopefully from a designer at Painting VR who's going to come talk about their new app that they've released. So that's going to be super interesting. Yeah, so see everyone on Discord, I guess. Thanks for joining.
Bye bye. Yeah. Take care.